But I think it is better, especially with men who struggle with being afraid that they're coming off as controlling.
Right.
If you are doing what you're asking somebody, like, you know, you're following the same rules of the relationship and of your life, then a person is going to more easily be able to jump in or change their mind about something like that because you are doing it. You are leading by example. Because if you go further with somebody who's like, well, you could do it, now you're getting into like, are you persuading that person? Do they really want to go out and do it? And like, they're kind of defending going out, which is not really somebody who seems like they're ready to settle down with somebody.
Right. I'm just telling you what I don't like and what I want in a relationship. And you can do whatever you want to do and then let her and see what she does. And many times, if you're patient as a man, she will come back to you and she'll say, I thought about it and I don't actually want to do this. Right. And that's, again, the man has to lead the relationship. He has to set those standards for relationships. That's why also I say it from this perspective in the sense that many times a woman is not going to necessarily see a problem with hanging out with guys. A lot of times a woman's not going to see a problem with going out to the nightclub to dance with her friends or whatever, or doing girls trips or those things that may be destructive to the relationship. And the guy's going to have to be the one that's in the position to say, this is not something that we should be doing in our relationship. Right.
That's good verbiage right there.
Right.
That also doesn't come off as controlling.
Right.
You know?
Although many women will still call it controlling, but then the guy,
they're not the woman for you.
Well, the guy has to be secure enough to not allow that to affect him.
Well, and to understand a boundary versus being actual controlling.
Because if you know
when you know that you're not being controlling, it doesn't affect you when people say stuff like that.
But when you're not sure, which is why I wanted to make this episode, then when a woman says, hey, that's controlling and insecure, you're like, well, is it? I mean, a lot of people are saying that's controlling and insecure because that's what I get a lot from a lot of guys. I'm like, no, it's not controlling and insecure to set a boundary and to say what you do not like or what you do like and what you want. And then to choose whether you're going to be with someone or not based on that. Right?
I want to add that I saw something on King and Michelle's podcast. Go check them out, by the way. They were talking about, they saw an influencer guy or something talking about how he made a list of what he wants in his partner, right? And then I think his therapist had him do it or something. And then the therapist was like, well, do you check all these boxes off? And he was like, no. And so that I feel like is so important as a woman because from like a woman's perspective, if a man is asking you to do something that he doesn't plan to do, then that's going to instantly be controlling. Like, you can't tell a woman, like, you can't go on girls' trips, you can't go out to the bars and party, you can't do this, and then you as a man go out and do them.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, that, because that is controlling. Even if that's a boundary, even if you're like, I have a boundary where the woman I'm in a relationship with doesn't do these things, and she's like, okay, well, but are you going to do these things? And he's like, yeah. Then that's still controlling.
Well, I disagree. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily controlling. It's somewhat hypocritical. But if that's what you want, and that's what you decide that how you want, and so,
what woman is gonna want a man that can do whatever he wants?
As long as you're okay, as long as you're like, look, this is what I'm like, because some people are like, I want. And I disagree with the open-ended relationships, the one-side open-ended relationship. But some people want that, and some people do want to do that. But so it's
mostly
like,
men who want that.
I agree. There's some, but the point is if you are not trying to force someone, and you're like, this is who I am, this is what I like, and this is what I want, and I want to be able to go. It seems so stupid to say it, but if you're like, I want to be able to go out and party, but I don't want you to. Like, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone that does. It's, if you're giving the option and you're not creating a emotional manipulation, and they agree to it, then it's not really controlling because they had the option. It's like just someone taking a bad deal is their fault if they're not tricked into a bad deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just still doesn't feel. I still think
weird.
That you shouldn't be hypocritical with the boundaries that you're setting up. That's also too being like, I don't want to date a person that drinks so much, but then you drink all the time.
Right.
It's like, that's not really like, yes, I understand what you're saying and you're right. Like as long as it is an actual boundary and, you know, that person chose that, even though it's not the best idea, I get that. And you are right.
Right.
But I think it is better, especially with men who struggle with being afraid that they're coming off as controlling.
Right.
If you are doing what you're asking somebody, like, you know, you're following the same rules of the relationship and of your life, then a person is going to more easily be able to jump in or change their mind about something like that because you are doing it. You are leading by example.
Exactly. And the good thing about that too is because one of the immediate responses you're going to get when you tell someone, hey, I'm not really comfortable with you going out with your girlfriends to drink at a nightclub, is they're going to say, I don't care if you do it. Right? That's the defense, right? And the only way you can, if you already know that that might be the answer, and you say, hey, out of respect for you, I don't do this, and then you say what you don't like, then if they say, well, I don't care if you do it, it sounds bad on there. It's hard for them to say that at that point because it's like, well,
that kind
you
of
can
gives
give me
you the
permission to do it, but it doesn't change that I'm not going to do it.
But that is an answer of when you should walk away.
Well, yeah, of course.
Like,
yeah.
That is the answer that you're looking for because that doesn't line up with somebody that would do something like that. And so that means that you have to walk away from that person. And that's the hardest part of boundaries is you actually have to walk away.
Yeah, you have to be willing to walk away, and it has to be not fake.
You can't just threaten it like, oh, are you sure that's your answer? Like, do you want to change your answer? Because like, that means we're not going to be together. No, like,
no, then now you're being controlling.
If I said that and somebody was like, well, you can go out. Like when you and I first started dating, if I was like, hey, like, I don't want you going out to the bars and stuff without me, like, that is the type of relationship that I'm expecting. You can do that if you want.
Yeah.
I know I
now you
said
did,
it wrong
you're kind
in the
of in the
beginning.
control. Yeah.
The relationship I want to be in does not involve somebody who's going out to bars because I don't plan to do that myself. And you were like, well, I don't care if you go out to bars. I'd be like, no. I'd be like, this isn't the right relationship then.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would let you go and do it, but I would walk away. I'd be like, okay, like you don't because if you go further with somebody who's like, well, you could do it. Now you're getting into like, are you persuading that person? Do they really want to go out and do it? And like, they're kind of defending going out, which is not really somebody who seems like they're ready to settle down with somebody.
Right. But sometimes there is some leadership that needs to be done, right? Because and also a lot of women, they don't want to hear anything that a guy tells them that they quote can't do. And I know that's not what's happening in this case, but a lot of women will react to any kind of don't tell me what to do. Right? Don't tell me what I should wear. Don't tell me
unhealed.
I agree.
Trauma.
But they can be healed by the right guy having actual boundaries and standing firm on that and saying, okay, you know, I'm just telling you what I don't like and what I want in a relationship. And you can do whatever you want to do. And then let her and see what she does. And many times, if you're patient as a man, she will come back to you and she'll say, I thought about it and I don't actually want to do this. Right. And I'm speaking about this from experience with guys that have said that's what they've done. And the women came back and gave a positive response and said, hey, I like that you have boundaries and that you're, because it's a secure way. It creates safety and stability. A woman does want a man to set boundaries, right? Any person wants a person to know that they care enough about them that they actually care.
That's what
where
boundaries are.
Right.
Yeah. They get confused. They think boundaries like confines the relationship, but it's actually giving somebody understanding into how to better your relationship.
And there are some parallels, and I'm reluctant to say this, but there are some parallels. Right, so don't misinterpret this. Don't anyone misinterpret this. But that's why I'm giving the caveat. I'm giving the caveat. But there are some parallels between parenting and being a man in a relationship, in the sense that, look, if you say to a child, you can do whatever you want, okay, that child does not feel loved. If you tell a woman you can do whatever you want, that woman does not feel loved. You have to have some kind of boundaries, some kind of standards, right? Because being a man, it's really being a man, whether you're in the context of a relationship just with a woman or being a man, being the father in a family, it's still the same role. And that's why there's a parallel. Not because you should treat a woman like a child. That's not what I'm saying at all. Just want to be clear on that. But being a man, being a father figure, being the, for lack of a better word, patriarch of the family, right? It means that you have certain ways that you act and that you create safety for everybody. You create boundaries for everybody. That's your responsibility. It's not that a woman can't set boundaries. Of course, she should have her own boundaries, but you create the big boundaries that create safety. Because
you're supposed to be the leader.
Right. And that's why I talk about this from a guy's perspective. Yeah, a woman could also have this exact thing between being controlling or being dominant or secure in the way, and she can set her boundaries. But a man many times needs to lead the relationship and set these proper boundaries for the relationship and needs to be standing firm on this, because sometimes he does need to educate and teach a little bit about this, because a woman might not see that there's anything wrong with these things, right? But a wise man that has some experience would say, okay, yeah, this is dangerous territory for the relationship. And he should be leading by example